All of you here definitely have at least one habit. It could be drinking water every day, biting your nails, or anxiously pacing back and forth before going on stage like I was a few seconds ago. But do you really understand what a habit is? The International Encyclopedia of Social Sciences defines habits as learned patterns of behavior enacted with minimal reliance on conscious resources. Many of us have a morning routine. Beginning in August, most of our days start out like this. You wake up, get dressed, brush your teeth, eat breakfast, get in the car, drive to school, pull in the parking lot, get out of the car, grab your backpack, and walk into school. Performing this series of habits 5 times out of the 7-day week can make life seem like it is stuck in an endless loop, and you don't even realize that you're at school until you get to class. We all have good and bad habits, yet we cannot blame our unhealthy behaviors on just having bad habits because these habits are essential to our lives and make up almost everything we do. Habits are made of 3 different parts that create a cycle called the habit loop. They are cue, routine, reward. The cue is the trigger for specific behavior, like when your alarm clock goes off and you are cued to get up and begin your routine. The routine is the repetitive behavior, like getting dressed and driving to school. Finally, the reward is the effect that the behavior has on you. The reward of your morning routine could be a sense of accomplishment for getting through traffic or a feeling of being ready for the day. Habits become stronger over time. This happens because of neuroplasticity. Our brains are constantly rewiring to adapt our behavior to our situation. Every time we repeat a habit, good or bad, neural pathways in our brain are strengthened. This is why habits feel more natural the more you do it. Habits, again, become stronger the more they're repeated. Edward Lee Thorndike introduced 2 laws to help explain human behavior. The first law is the law of effect. The law of effect states that any time a behavior is followed by a pleasant outcome, that behavior is likely to occur. For example, when you and your group of friends come to the conclusion that you will not get an A in AP Psych if you keep getting a 5 out of 10 on all of Dr. Kuhn's quizzes. So, you begin to study a little bit every day, and you decide to review all together the night before. The quiz day comes around, and you're more confident than you ever have been. You submit your quiz, and you finally see a glorious 10 out of 10 on your screen. You look over at your friends, and you smile because you all finally got a 10. I would like to clarify, Dr. Kuhn told us from day 1 to study a little every day, and I hope future AP Psych students will take that advice seriously. This is just one way the law of effect plays a role in our everyday life. We can also see the law of effect in sports. Your coach tells you to do something different, that change makes you stronger or faster, therefore you continue with the new habit. The second law proposed is the law of exercise. The law of exercise states that the more a stimulus is connected with a response, the stronger the link between the two. This can be simplified as practice makes perfect. Like when you get your parking spot at the beginning of the year. You park in the same spot every single day. By the end of the year, you could probably do it with your eyes closed. Unless you're bad at parking like me, then you probably want to keep your eyes open. Another example of the law of exercise is skiing. I go skiing pretty much every year. When I first started skiing, I was terrible. I'd run into virtually every obstacle possible. However, because of the law of exercise, I've gotten better at skiing every year I've gone. The more time I spent going down runs, the better I became at turning, balancing, and stopping. This is because your brain and your muscles build a stronger connection. These laws explain how the habit loop continues to occur when the reward is positive. The cue is more likely to signal the specific routine that produces this positive reward. Habits, again, become stronger the more they're repeated. Now that you fully understand what habits are and how they work, I want to introduce you to conformity. Raise your hand if you know what conformity is. Now, keep your hand up if you know what mob mentality is. I'm going to take a guess and say that I doubt everyone in here with their hand up actually knows what mob mentality is. And some of you might have just kept your hand up because you saw people around you doing it. Funny enough, if you did this, you just fell victim to mob mentality without even knowing it. Mob mentality is a psychological phenomenon that occurs when an individual, part of a larger group, consciously or unconsciously adopts the beliefs, attitudes, or behaviors of the majority. Mob mentality is driven by the inner desire to fit in, which can become dangerous. When you constantly seek to be accepted by the group, you begin to lose part of your identity. I'm going to tell you guys 2 stories of how I have conformed to mob mentality. This is me in 5th grade. A fun fact about 5th grade me was that I loved yogurt. I ate it pretty much every day at lunch. One day in science class, we learned that yogurt was actually milk combined with bacteria. This didn't bother me that much because I knew if something bad were to happen to me because of eating yogurt, it would have happened by now. However, when we learned this fact, some people in my class decided to boycott the yogurt at school because why would we eat bacteria? Not to be dramatic, but I was crushed. I began to conform to the mob mentality that yogurt was gross because I didn't want to be the odd one out. I wanted to be accepted. Despite my love for yogurt, I followed along with my classmates, avoiding yogurt for the rest of the school year. But at least I was part of the group, and that's good, right? Wrong. Changing your beliefs just to be accepted by the group and not be the only one with a certain opinion leads to serious concerns about one's ability to make decisions on their own. Now, the second story happened in kindergarten, and I was wearing this specific pair of blue shoes. I really liked them, and I was excited to wear them to school because they were new. I got to school, and there was this one girl who looked me up and down and told me that I was wearing boy shoes because they were blue. She told me that if I wanted to be friends with her, I was going to need to get a pair of twinkle toes. I cried to my mom so much because all I wanted was a pair of twinkle toes, but she always said no. I wanted to be accepted so badly that I didn't even really like the shoes I had once loved. As you can see, I fell victim to mob mentality pretty often in my childhood, which is why I find it important to share this information with you today. Additionally, we've seen mob mentality in history, like the Salem witch trials. There's no way all those people genuinely believed that they were witches, yet mob mentality took over, and the people of Salem disregarded their own beliefs out of fear of being labeled a witch. I want to revisit the habit loop and explain how conformity fits into this cycle. The want for acceptance is the cue in the habit loop of conformity. The routine is the act of pretending to be someone you're not and shedding your own personal values for those of the group. The reward is feeling accepted by the group, but at what cost? The issue with forming habits of conformity is that you begin to become a person you're not. Over time, you will find yourself exhausted from constantly pretending in order to fit in with the group. I want to do a demonstration to show you all how automatic habits can become. Everyone cross your arms like you normally would. Now I want you to cross your arms the other way so the arm that was on the bottom is now on the top. Doesn't that feel weird and uncomfortable? Well, that's exactly how habits work. When we become so used to doing what other people want, when we try something different, it feels awkward. Even though I didn't necessarily conform by getting new shoes, I still felt like wearing my blue shoes would prevent me from making friends, so I stopped wanting to wear them. Habits like this can seem like they take over your life, but they don't have to. The first step to breaking a habit is to recognize the cue. Once you recognize what needs to be done, you can begin to change your routine. Starting the routine of being authentically yourself will lead you to the fulfilling reward of freedom and confidence. Habits form over time, but they also take time to break. The hardest part of breaking the cycle is realizing that you have fallen into one. I encourage you all to really think about your habits. Where in your life could you start to cross your arms differently? How can you accomplish a more satisfying reward? We need to break habits of conformity and create more habits of individuality. Thank you.